Maintaining your team's morale is not a nice to have, but a fundamental part of leading a successful team. See, when change happens, it's common for morale to suffer. And as senior leaders, you need to take action to keep your team motivated and focus on the bigger picture. Stick with me here until the end, and I'll show you some practical strategies to keep your team engaged and motivated during times of change. Let's dive in. There's a strong connection between team morale and team drive. And this is something every leader needs to recognize and pay attention to. See, low morale leads to diminished drive, which leads to diminished results. And I'm not talking about skills or processes. I'm talking about how your team feels, because how they feel is a leading indicator of how well they will perform. See, when morale suffers, the effects on the business aren't always immediate, but trust me, you will soon begin to notice decreased enthusiasm, decreased creativity, and a decrease in responsiveness. All signs that morale is beginning to suffer. See, this is why team engagement is so important. It's easy to keep everyone engaged and motivated when things are going well. It's much more complicated when things are constantly changing. But this is the essence of leadership. Your leadership matters most when morale is low and the team is struggling. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about some practical ways to engage your team and enhance morale, especially when there's a lot of change. Unify your team around a common vision. See, morale can quickly decline when people feel disconnected from each other, especially on a company's mission, right? Or when individuals lose their sense of belonging to something greater, their motivation drops. It's not that they no longer care about their work, but that their enthusiasm begins to fade when they don't have a clear connection between their efforts and a larger purpose. See, disconnected teams lose their energy because they just don't see themselves as part of the bigger picture. Your role is to help your team feel connected, not just to you, but to each other and the overall vision. So you got to make the vision personal by showing them how their efforts contribute to the bigger picture. People become more engaged and motivated when they understand how their work makes a difference. So you got to catch people doing something right and then reinforce it. It's no different than being a parent, right? See, too many leaders highlight mistakes, they criticize flaws, or they emphasize what went wrong. Sometimes it makes you question whether they even appreciate their team, judging by how they speak about them. But here's the truth. Whether you chose your team or you inherited them, they're your team to lead. Their results or lack thereof are a reflection on you. So one of the best ways to improve team performance and morale is to notice and call out the good things your people are doing. Why? Because it reinforces the correct behavior and builds a culture of excellence. When others see that you do that, you know what's going to happen? They'll do the same thing with their teammates, and there'll be less bickering. Think about that for a second. How do you feel when someone criticizes your work? Does it motivate you or does it deflate you? Right? How do you feel when someone highlights something you're proud of? See, that positive reinforcement, I don't know about you, but lights a fire in me, right? Now reflect on the interactions you've had with your team lately. Let's be honest. Are you focusing on what they're doing right, or are you constantly nitpicking on what they could do better? When you recognize your team's positive efforts, morale skyrockets. You create a culture where people are excited to show up and give their best because they feel seen, they feel trusted, and they feel valued. When you're constantly criticizing, others become silently disengaged, which is a killer. So let me ask you this, which do you want on your team? Micromanagement is another area that stifles creativity and drains morale. When leaders don't trust their team to make decisions, it signals a lack of confidence in their abilities. This breeds frustration, and that leads to disengagement and a sharp drop in morale. People stop offering fresh ideas and they begin to merely go through the motions. What's the solution? Give your team ownership. You hire them to do a job. Trust them to handle their work. Trust them to make decisions and trust them to solve problems or get rid of them, right? See, when people feel trusted, their confidence grows, right? And so does their performance. So how can you practice this? Here's a couple ideas. First, delegate responsibility. Instead of simply assigning tasks, delegate ownership of entire functions. Give your team the authority and the autonomy to determine how they approach their work. Let them own the process, not only the outcome. Two, step back and be supportive. Once you delegate, resist the temptation to hover, right? Just be available for guidance, but allow your team to take charge. Encourage their growth by giving them the space to make decisions and solve problems independently. Three, schedule consistent check-ins. See, establish regular check-ins to review progress, gather feedback, and offer guidance. Clearly define the purpose and expectations of these meetings so others come prepared. Personally, I recommend putting those expectations in the calendar invite to eliminate any ambiguity and set the stage for a productive discussion. Here's the bottom line. No leader wants a deflated team. So don't become the leader with a deflated team, right? Team morale is the cornerstone of every successful business. It's the fuel that drives engagement, creativity, and high performance. When morale is low, everything else in the business suffers. But you, the leader, have the power to change that. Your leadership sets the tone. Your energy or lack thereof is contagious. You can unify others, build trust, provide autonomy, and recognize achievements. These aren't just leadership tactics. They're actually the keys to having a kick-ass team that drives your business. If you found these tips I shared today valuable, I invite you to join our leadership community. Not only will I personally guide you, but you'll also be surrounded by like-minded leaders who share the same challenges that you do. Follow the link in the description if you're interested. If you want to explore how we could help you elevate your leadership and develop growth champions throughout your business who can help you get out of the weeds and scale, I also included a link in the description to schedule an exploratory call, and we can brainstorm together of what that may look like for you and or members of your team. Okay, if you like what I shared today, do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up, drop a comment below related to your business, and of course subscribe, because each week I'm sharing content to help you and your team embrace change, focus your efforts, and accelerate results. Remember this, you're just one idea away. We'll talk to you soon.